Matthew chapter 4, we come face to face with this reality that Jesus Christ is in the wilderness being tempted by the devil. And the temptations that Jesus receives do expose the lies that we tend to believe and we tend to tell ourselves, more especially when we give in to temptation. The first lie is the lie of self-sustenance. The devil comes to Jesus and says, if you are the Son of God, turn this stone into bread. And the reason why the devil tempted Christ in this way is because he wanted Jesus to believe the lie of self-sustenance. The lie of self-sustenance says, what I have matters more to me than what God desires for me. This is the reality that the devil was saying. If you're a child of God, turn this. And he focused on if you are, because he wanted Jesus to doubt his identity. And it happens with us. Like, if you're a child of God, why are you sick? If you're a child of God, why don't you have a job by now? If you're a child of God, why don't you have money for education or rentals or food or whatever it is? But Jesus says, no, I am not responsible for my own sustenance. God does sustain me. That's why Jesus says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. And what that means is that we are not responsible for our own sustenance. God sustains us. The second lie we see here is the lie of self-satisfaction. The lie of self-satisfaction says what I feel matters more to me than what God desires for me. This is why the devil says, throw yourself here and God will command his angels to catch you, because he was appealing to what Jesus is going to feel when that happens. But Jesus says, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to test God. And what he's saying there is that, no, what actually I desire is to find my satisfaction in God and not in anything else. And this is why it's so important that you watch yourself, more especially when you have high emotions. Watch yourself when you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you feel lonely, because those things can make you satisfy something in yourself rather than find satisfaction in God. And finally, we have the lie of status. And the lie of status says, who I am matters more to me than what God desires for me. And this is why he says, hey, worship me and I'm going to give you everything else that's here. And Jesus says to the devil, hey, get away from Satan, because the scriptures tells me that I will only worship God and serve him alone. And what Jesus Christ there is saying, that who I am is defined by God, not by the things that I have. And most of us can find ourselves falling into temptation because that temptation begins to feed something in us. So watch out when you're looking for validation from people. It's not the things that you have that define you. It's the reality that you are found in God, that God has you, that should truly define you, that your identity is actually grounded in Jesus and not in the things that you have. Stay blessed.